Hello guys, welcome on the day two last ball drop shows. Last ball drops show. There was already some action in the comments. I see Jake in particular has been very excited about today's episode. Also on Twitter, I think he made a very similar, tweet. So yeah, we're gonna bring it to you, even though we only saw 8 matches today. So that was quite weird. I mean, 8 matches and some I don't know, like 10 or 15 sets maybe in some other games. But yeah, that was quite weird to watch, right?
Yeah, that was insanely unconventional day two of of a major for sure. Just it being so little tennis, but like you said, I'm sure we'll have so much more to talk about tomorrow when there's 87 matches being played in total in singles. So yeah, brace yourself for a chaotic day and no rain, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, center court, maybe let's start from the very first. Oh, actually, it wasn't the center court, it was actually court number one, but I wanted to start with the Carlos Alcaraz Jeremy Chardy match. 6 love, 6-2, 7-5 for Carlos. Straight forward, but also, the third set actually kind of good competitive. Do you think we learned anything out of this? And yeah, what did you think of Chardy's potentially last match of his career? That's what he said. Some players have been coming back, but let's say it's probably the last match of his career.
Yeah, I mean, if it is the last match, I think he gave a good account of himself in the third set. Not so much in the first two sets where his ball toss was all over the place and Carlos was just way too good for him. But I felt like in the second set, actually he started to play a lot more attacking and he started to play kind of more like old Chardy for a good bit, and his nerves settled down. And Carlos actually, he got tight for one game, and his he also started to fluctuate in his level just a tad to allow Chardy to really step up. But I think it just wasn't enough in the end, and overall it was still a pretty predictable result. You kind of knew going in how that it was going to be straight sets out for Carlos, but I think, yeah, I mean, Shardy, like, I've been following him for like the last 10 years, and he's had some good moments here and there, and some good wins, and definitely, yeah, pretty good career. And now he's successfully coaching Ugo Humbert. So I guess that's the next part of his life, right?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because Ghosty called me Doctor Horror. Not quite yet, Ghosty. It's gonna be in like 9 days. So far I've just submitted my MA thesis. But anyway, yeah, I think you're very much right that in the first two sets he just was struggling so much with the serve, and this was supposed to be his asset. Like if Chardy was ever going to have a chance in this match, it was by serving great and it was by hitting insane +1 forehands, which is basically what he's been doing his whole career, and that just wasn't really working out there. So yeah, fine that he got that third set. I saw that he also took it like a man, let's say, the class act that he is,
Yeah.
Jeremy Chardy. He kind of took it great, and was laughing even sometimes at just the sheer yeah, just how lopsided the scoreboard was. I think perhaps you can say that Chardy is pretty slow at this stage of his career, but I think that the ball striking level from Alcaraz was still very, very high, and this was like the kind of comfort level when it comes to the movement, and also, yeah, just how violent the forehand was, where you actually start believing in him potentially having a shot at winning this Wimbledon, even if it's Djokovic in the final. I'm not saying he would be the favorite, but yeah, I mean, it was a very convincing performance anyway, even if it was against Jeremy Chardy, who was on the verge of retirement, and like literally on the verge of retirement. Of course, he will stay on the tour at least to some extent,
Mm.
since he is still coaching Ugo Humbert and seems to be doing great in that position as well. Yeah, another thing, I guess the title defense of Elena Rybakina has started against Shelby Rogers. Shelby Rogers, one of the giant killers that we have, like, over the years, we've learned that she is capable of upsetting basically anyone on her day. And while it never really got that close here, she did threaten.
Yeah, there was certainly a point where I thought, okay, this upset could be on, especially because it took Rybakina, a good set to really settle into the match and on her return. But I think when she figured that part out of it, and she was able to kind of settle in, like, I think this is the nerves and the whole occasion actually. Like in this case, like walking off, walking on right after that huge celebration for Federer and the standing ovation, and just kind of, and I think she idolized Federer as well. Or, I mean, many
Oh yeah,
players
yeah.
do. So I think, just, and then you could see it kind of in the first game. She had a double fault. Her serve was a little bit. I was more just kind of concerned how is she going to be physically, and I think we kind of got our answers that I think she'll be just fine. I think she'll settle into this tournament hopefully well. I mean, that doesn't mean that she's going to go and win the thing again, but I think at least in the last two sets, it ended on a really good note for her, and yeah, I mean Rogers is tough. Like you don't want to see that in the first round for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Rogers is like the best player not to win a WTA Tour title, I suppose. I don't know history. Like I haven't actually checked whether historically there have been any that could contend with her, but like right now on the WTA Tour, she's definitely up there. Max, I
I think
see
it'll
that
be
she changed her.
her and Tomljanovic and maybe Sasnovich.
Yeah,
Those are maybe the three.
Tomljanovic,
Yeah, would win. But
Tomljanovic probably is right around there. I think Rogers has like 4 finals or something like that, right? Or maybe 3 finals. I can't remember. Maybe
yeah,
maybe just two actually. Never mind. Anyway, of course, she came out firing. She didn't quite keep that intensity, and then like um the level of serving from Rybakina in sets 2 and 3 was just impeccable. She basically didn't take anything off, and at the same time she upped her first serve percentage by like 25%. So she was
yeah,
getting it in at 75% and winning 90% of them. So you cannot beat her when she's playing like that, or like at least you cannot break her. So yeah, if she keeps it up, and I think there was a slight degree of uncertainty when it comes to Rybakina because she had that viral infection or whatever it was, and then of course the slightly early loss to Vekic, but it's Vekic, it's an excellent grass courter, so it's nothing really to be worried about. But yeah, some struggle, but yeah, then again, she just cleaned up the next two sets so easily that I don't think it was really anything that her fans should be worried about. She is definitely here, still here as one of the contenders to win. I think that, by the way, Max, I love your new profile photo on YouTube. I think that's Nora Jones. Come away with me. Yeah, and anyway, let's get to some other things. Basically, we are going to be talking about every match today because why not, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's 8 matches. Why wouldn't we
right.
do that? So maybe let's talk about the next match that happened on center court, which was Andy Murray over Ryan Peniston. I mean, we kind of knew that it was going to be straightforward, and like I think we've at least definitely I have said a few times that I do not understand how Ryan Peniston is getting these Queens runs every single year, but it
Yeah,
was still quite harsh. It still wasn't the extent of the victory that I was expecting.
yeah, and I think Murray will gladly take it because he needs every single easy win that he can get at this stage of his career in a best of five set format. And yeah, I mean, I have to say, like Murray was really on, like his movement and his footwork and everything was some of the best I've seen in the last five years or so. I would say. Just it wasn't really tested much, so I can't. Well, I guess we'll find out more in the next round. But I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, 6 games is harsh for Peniston, especially with the results that he had in Queens and
Four
just
games, even. Yeah.
yeah, 4 games. It's brutal. But but I think he'll gladly take it, and now he has an extra day of rest compared to whoever he'll face in the um in the second round. So yeah, I think our pick of Murray maybe getting to the second week is looking more and more likely.
Yeah,
And
especially with
again,
Steph now down a set to the team, right?
yeah,
That's what makes it even more likely, I think. If Murray is going to play team in the second round, I don't think team has that much of a chance. Whereas Tsitsipas, you still give him some sort of an opportunity for sure. Then I think on court number 1, it was Onjaber against Magdalena Frank, second up, which honestly I kind of expected that maybe Frank will have some sort of a shot there, but it was 6-3, 6-3, and I think just the dominance of the baseline was just way too big, and like the first serve of Jabeur, of course, even if she wasn't landing it that much, but it was still giving her so many free points. And I think the most like glaring stat from this match is that Jabeur hit 33 winners and Frank hit 4.
yeah. That I mean, and that's what it looked like, right? I mean, it looked like Jabor
Yeah.
was just on top of the baseline, just dictating terms, and like she served really really well. So I think that's crucial because she doesn't have one of the biggest serves, but she has good placement and she can bury it around the box pretty nicely, like she was doing last year. But I actually, even though she got to the final last year, she wasn't always at her best, and she was not she wasn't it wasn't like a clinical run to the final, and it wasn't the sternest competition. But I think and her grass lead up this time around, and just the trajectory of where she's at this year compared to last, it's very different. But in some ways, it kind of takes the pressure off of her, and I think she's playing sort of with that freedom, and I don't think she's expecting to win this title or anything. Whereas last year, she was really a big goal on her mind, and she really wanted to go in and be like, I can win this thing, I should win this thing. So, but yeah, I mean, it's nice to watch her in full flow.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I think if she was defending the runner-up points, then I wouldn't really agree with the argument that the pressure is off. But with the fact that no one is really defending anything at Wimbledon, and
Yeah,
yeah, maybe it just doesn't really matter that she was the runner-up last year. Although I guess it kind of still makes the expectations higher. Just maybe for her internally. She
yeah.
is still, of course, looking for that maiden Grand Slam title, and perhaps feels that this could be one of the chances. But yeah, that bottom half is just so stacked that we're gonna have to see. And speaking of that stacked bottom half, the last women's match that was finished today was Arina Sabalenka beating Panna Udvardi. Do we have anything to say about that? Even, I mean, it was just way too straightforward. Again, a huge contrast when it comes to the number of winners. Almost
Yeah.
Frank Jabeur like. Udvardi hit 4 and Sabalenka hit 29. I think in this case, it's perhaps even more striking because usually Udvardi would. I mean, she would contest the baseline at least a bit more against most players, whereas Frank, she's just a hardcore counter puncher. But yeah, Sabalenka just never really gave her the chance.
Yeah, this was straight up just one way traffic all throughout. Honestly, I don't know if I have much to add with what you said, because it was just, yeah, it was very straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And let's actually start talking about matches that were not straightforward because we had them today. And I would say that even the best two were actually the ones that weren't supposed to be on center court and court one. But let's maybe start with the one that initially was scheduled there. So Cam Norrie against Thomas Mahaj. Fairly dangerous test, I think, in the opening round. Mahaj maybe hasn't been focusing on his grass schedule, but he is usually really good in low bouncing conditions. Honestly, I was also like slightly disappointed. I thought that was going to be a little closer. Like, of course, he took a set, but it didn't really feel like Nori was in trouble at any point other than the break points, I guess, at 4-3, right? And in the
Yeah, three
fourth.
four.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-4 serving, two break points. That was the only time where I felt like, oh, this could actually go into a fifth.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, I mean, actually, like, he gave a good account of himself. I mean, I would say, he played pretty much some good tennis, in the second set, and then at times in the fourth. But I think Nori was just a step too good, and I mean, his first serve was, when it was firing, he won like basically almost 80% of his points. I'll have to double check the stats, but I think at one point it was, oh yeah, 77%. Okay, yeah. I mean, so yeah, I guess it was a good test for Cam in the first round, but we'll see what it's like when he plays against either Eubanks, I'm guessing, as his second round opponent, Eubanks or Montero. Yeah, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, that's
Yeah, you're right.
it.
I guess, yeah, Eubanks could potentially be a test already, and certainly everyone's looking at that Korda round 3 matchup as something where Nori could potentially struggle. Ghosty is asking, how do you say Freuch? It's like that, Freuch. It's that's because it's not an
Yeah.
E, it's like an E with a something with a tail. I don't know. So that's why it's Freuch, not Frech.
Hmm.
Anyway, let's get to the two matches that were actually really exciting compared to all of the things that happened today at Wimbledon. And it was, maybe let's get to this one first. Quentin Alice, Dan Evans. We started this one today with Alice being 2-0 up. I did not get to see much of the when it was initially played out on one of the outside courts, but I've heard that like he was playing some insane big boy tennis and just hitting insanely huge on the serve and on the groundies. Today
Yeah,
was much tighter. I think it was a very commendable effort from Evans to make it so close. But still, some incredible serving again from the Frenchman, as you would probably expect from him, but also just taking the ball very early, never really giving Evans that much space to breathe in his own service games. And the only thing he really did wrong, I think, was that volley at 5-0 in the first set tiebreak, which he
yeah,
completely botched up. But after that, he was clean. And I guess he just shows that he is going to be very tough for Sinner in round 3.
yeah. Interesting, actually. Yeah, I didn't. It's I think it's either him or Vukic in the third round for Sinner, right? But I think
It's Vukic, Altmaier. I think they're still playing. And
okay,
then one of them is going to play Alice, and and then Sinner. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. I'm not. I mean, Halis is like pretty good on fast courts. Like when he's on, like I love. He's actually quite a force to be reckoned with. Like he hits his his first serve, his forehand, the way he can like take the ball early and then cut the angle and then
Oh,
go
sorry,
forward.
Vukic won
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Okay,
I
okay,
Vukic, I would
sorry.
say I think Vukic is in the
Sorry,
second round.
sorry, guys. I
But
actually thought that was suspended late in the fourth. Maybe there was like a rain delay where it was suspended and then they came back or something like that.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But I actually, it was fun to watch the contrast because Evans played a lot better this time around than he did yesterday. From what I can see, I didn't get to watch much of the 6-3 6-2 score part of this match, but I think
Hmm.
yeah, I think Halis really had to come up with some of his best stuff and like just the combination of like trying to come forward but then contending with Evans' slice and then finishing the point at the net where Evans can't really overpower him. I think that was an advantage for Halis in a situation like this. Like he just has more weapons at his disposal, and like just bread and butter plays. Whereas Evans just has to try and make something happen and kind of withstand the barrage that Halis is throwing at him. So that was a good contrast. But I think you're right. Yeah, I think Halis can push Sinner in the third round if they're certainly much more than Sinner was pushed yesterday, for example. But yeah,
Yeah, when it comes to Nori's heritage, he was basically born in Johannesburg but lived in Auckland since like the age of 3, and then at the age of 16, I think he moved to England. So yeah, he's like a huge mixture of the three. And when he played the final in Auckland earlier this year, he was actually choking super hard because it was like a bona fide home event for him, even though of course he did he I think he represented New Zealand as well, like in the juniors or something, or didn't he?
that sounds
Um
right. Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah, I don't want to be wrong about this, but yeah, until 2013. So actually, until he was like 17, 18. So yeah,
yeah.
for quite a long while. And apparently, he resides in Monaco. So maybe he's actually a mixture of the four even. Um, yeah, anyway, I also agree that well, I guess I said it first, but like Alice should be very tough for Sinner. Just with the serve you can always keep it really close. I won't ramble on about this, like Alice choosing to play on clay after Roland Garros. I've said it time and time again that I don't get it. Still think he actually could have gotten a lot more than 75 points if he just played 3 weeks on grass. But it's done. Clearly, it hasn't hampered his Wimbledon chances. He was absolutely fantastic today. And well, as I said, I didn't get to see these first 2 sets that much either. But in the part of the match that I saw, the scoreline getting closer, it was actually just because Evans started playing much better rather than Alice doing something wrong, other than the volley. And also, the last match, of course, was Thomas Martin Etcheverry, Bernabe Zapata Miralles. We have another 2 sets to love down comeback. And actually, this match today started at 2-1 up for Zapata Miralles. So we only got 2 sets from it today. And honestly, it was just such a surprise to me to see these two guys playing on grass and just executing just amazing shot making time and time again. phenomenal rallies, just in every single game. Maybe it's also an argument for these people who just claim that grass is basically like clay or hardcourt right now, because how are they doing it really? But yeah, I just thought it was a really fabulous way to end the day, which yeah, I never would have expected to be so entertained by Etcheverry and Zapata Miralles playing on grass.
Yeah, I had a similar takeaway too. Like I was like, this is actually some pretty high level stuff from both of them. Like they were they were playing some really good ball from the baseline, and playing, Zapata Morales at times was really getting really animated, getting really into it. Like he just, was throwing the punches on his forehand. He was like hitting his backhand pretty deep and hard, and like at times even getting more punches off of his serve than I can seem to recall in faster conditions. I guess with the roof also being closed and it being kind of more or less slowed down to a certain extent. I think I think it certainly helped, but yeah, I mean, this is why like that argument of like you no longer see, like, for example, the 80s where it's like Borg having to play a completely different style to win on serve and volley to win Wimbledon versus staying back at the baseline. It's much more homogenized, and I think this match is a pretty decent example of it. I mean, two like pretty bona fide clay court threats going at it, on grass for like potentially a place in the third round if they get there to face Djokovic. I think it was a good spectacle, pretty tight overall, and actually like Zapata Morales acquitted himself really well. Like even in the fifth set, actually, to win those three games from 2-4 down, and then just ask the question of Etcheverry to like stay in the match, and then eventually I think he did start to run out of gas a little bit in that 5-all game, and Etcheverry came up with some good passing shots, but I think yeah, it was looking troubling for him, because I actually, you know he should that's a match like he should win on paper. Like he
Yeah.
should get to the well, I mean, now he should get to the third round because that's where he's seated. But it would be interesting to watch him against Wawrinka.
Yeah, Zapata Miralles has qualified for Wimbledon the last two times he played it, 2021, 22. But I also felt like Etcheverry should be winning this. Like, he just has more on his serve, more on his forehand. Yeah, just more traits that could actually help him on the grass court. But clearly, this was a very good match. Similarly to Alice Evans, I mostly watched it today. I did not see much of it on the previous day. However, someone in my comments on Twitter, I cannot remember who it was, I don't think I can find it very quickly, but someone in my comments also said that it was excellent. Like the first part of the match was also fantastic. So I'm just gonna believe that guy. And yeah, of course, Zapata Miralles was granting way too loudly, but that's how he usually does it. And I actually really like these the antics of the guy, and how much yeah, how many times he just falls on the floor and I don't know, screams something crazy in Spanish. It's very entertaining to me. I love that these sort of personalities get to the main tour, and yeah, then craziness happens and people make gifts with them or something.
Maybe that was the highlight of Madrid this year when he beat Mackenzie McDonald, and then he
Oh
just,
yeah,
did you see that
absolutely.
celebration? And then when he just took off his shirt, just ripped it, it was like, yeah, he went absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
But
he wins the opening round, right? And saves like a couple of match points against
yeah,
Mackie on clay, which honestly he should have won that match, of course. And yeah, he barely scrapes through and does that. So that's actually a perfect example to what I just said. I didn't even remember it at the time, but that's actually a perfect example. So thank you. And there were also some matches that started today. So we should probably mention a few of these. I hope I still remember what started. I think like the main part, like the main things to talk about are Berrettini for sure. We could also mention how Fucsovics Greek Sport has been going. We could mention how Team Tsitsipas has been going. I think these are the most important ones. Has there been anything on the women's side? Not really, right? Like most of these matches haven't been that consequential for the event. So I guess let's start from Berrettini. He got to a tiebreak in the opening set, and I guess compared to the match in Stuttgart, it was like night and day.
yeah, he definitely looked a lot better than he did in Stuttgart. So that's positive. And I guess I'll just have to wait and see more when when the match
Yeah.
resumes and how it looks then, because still pretty early stages. But yeah, I think he would have loved to win that first set in the tiebreak, but I think yeah, I mean, if you compare it to Stuttgart, it's any positive that sign that you can hold on to, you'll take it if you're Mateo.
Yeah, still doesn't really make you think that he's gonna, I don't know, reach the fourth round and play Carlos, but like, yeah, he was just so much better than in Stuttgart, so maybe there's actually hope for him tomorrow. Although, losing the opening set is obviously a setback and kind of gives him just less ability to yeah, just drop a set or yeah, have a weaker couple of games. Dominic Thiem, Stefanos Tsitsipas, was that interesting at all? That was the big match when it comes to the names, but no one really expects high level tennis out of it. I guess I'm kind of surprised that Team is up a set though.
Yeah, kind of. I went back and I watched the game where Tsitsipas got broken at 2-3 because
Hmm.
basically like, there were no other break points apart
Yeah.
from that, and it was basically three shanked forehands, a double fault, um, and then a serve and volley attempt, or actually two shanks, my bad, and then a serve and volley attempt off a second serve, and then team just rips a backhand on the line pass, and then that's the break, and it's just yeah, it was not a good service game for Tsitsipas. And on the other hand, like yeah, I mean, team is a lot more dangerous behind the baseline with his backhand, as we know. And I actually think actually kind of got me thinking that team's clay resorts since the comeback, I guess, when he played the challenger match last year against Kashin, like
Hmm.
since that moment, his clay results and just the South American swing as well as the European swing, they've been, his results have been a lot better on the quicker surfaces,
Yeah.
like from the indoors, and then also
Indoor
like
season, especially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I wonder if that just simplifies life for him a lot more. Like just just serve big, hit big, like just do what you normally do, and maybe like the extra time like on the clay, and like the playing so far behind the baseline, like maybe it just simplifies things for a lot more. And he's got a good slice as well. I'm not saying he's going to go and become a grass specialist now and then get to the quarters or something of this tournament, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if like some like going forward in his career now, like that's where some of his best results come, because like that was the case also in 2019 and 2020. It was much more of a mixed bag in terms of clay and
Yeah.
hard.
He still doesn't have an ATP 1000 title on clay, right? And he has
Yeah,
an ATP 1000 title on hard, and he also, of course, has a Grand Slam title on hard. Yeah, it makes sense to me. After the injuries, he kind of has had to reinvent his game a bit. He cannot just rely on that forehand anymore, and that's kind of what got him, so good on clay. That he was just standing these 2 meters behind the baseline and blasting balls, and he was especially good, perhaps in the best of five format. He was sort of like Wawrinka 2.0 in a way, or maybe the other way around. But anyway, like they played a pretty similar game, I would say. And right
yeah,
now he just cannot really pull it off because the forehand is not as much of a threat. So yeah, maybe right now he actually likes the quicker court where it has a bit more pop, but at the same time also he can like just craft things up
yeah.
realistically. And yeah, it makes all sense to me, what you just said.
Okay.
Tsitsipas as well, I think, was just absolutely awful in return. And perhaps
Yeah,
this is actually why I
I think
thought that Tsitsipas was winning this match. That, yeah, his serve was just going to be too good for our team. And if he's going to be returning like that until the end of the match, that's actually not an asset at all. Because, yeah, he just chunks two returns every single game. So, yeah, we'll see how it looks tomorrow. But certainly not a great showing so far from Tsitsipas. And if anyone was doubting whether Murray should be favored if he plays Tsitsipas in round two, I think by now we're kind of clear on that, the fact that he should be the favorite. Not a huge one, but like, yeah, he should be. Anyway, anything else from the matches that started today that you wanted to talk about?
mm, were there any like on the women's side that we should
I'm
mention?
looking at it, but like honestly, most of them, like I watched some of Alexandrova beating Navarro. It was really clean. She is actually going to have to save a break point at 5-2, but she has that one break, as a cushion. So there's nothing really that can happen there. It seems Potapova Naev was pretty interesting too, but the Russian is also one set up. Doesn't seem like the 17-year-old Swiss is fully ready for this yet, but certainly she has had a nice grass season as well, with the Venus win, and McNally I think as well in Hertogenbosch.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, honestly, nothing, not much else really on the women's side. So maybe let's talk about what's exciting tomorrow. As you said, 87 matches. Some of them we already covered, like as matches that excite us on the previous show yesterday. So is there anything that's like on the schedule tomorrow and maybe wasn't there before, like wasn't there on the schedule for Tuesday, that excites you? Maybe there's some comments you have about the schedule itself, being the fact that it's 87 matches and it's kind of hard for it's kind of hard for them to find enough chords to try to play out all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people, and I also thought I've heard chatted about this on Twitter, and I also kind of think if you start the matches on center or on court one a little bit earlier, because
Hmm.
they, especially in the first couple of days, because they have that tradition that the defending champion
Yeah.
opens the play at 1:30 p.m. I wonder if that's like something we should consider moving a little bit earlier in the day, just for situations like this, in the first couple of days. But they also want to preserve the grass, so I guess there's that argument too. But I think um, also, like today, there was, I thought that they would put Fritz on today just because he was in the middle of the fifth set. So I thought logically that would have been the match to have concluded. So I'm that's one I'm very curious about tomorrow. I just want to see the end of that match because it's very much up in the air. And if Fritz, we talked about it, if Fritz gets through that match, then there's that possibility of Fritz and Sinner, which really excites me in the fourth round, just based on their two matches that they played each other at Indian Wells and just how similar they are in many aspects in terms of their ball striking. But I'm trying to think, what else in terms of the schedule, like because there's now 87 matches. I mean, basically all that we talked about yesterday, we could pretty much just say it's going to be more or less the same today because, like, yeah, most of those matches still apply. But I think there's that one. Then, yeah, honestly, maybe court two. This I want to see what happens at the end of Fritz Hoffman and the end of Team Tsitsipas. Oh, and then I'm also very fascinated by Karolina Muchova, just in general. Like the first match against Niemeyer. That's one I'll definitely have my eye on. And I just think out of all the top 16 seeds, she maybe has the toughest route to get to the quarters. Because if she wins this, then it doesn't get much easier. Like she could potentially face Noshkova, hasn't been in brilliant form the last like since January basically, but I think that's still a tricky second round. And then Alexandrova in the third
Yeah.
round, the way she's been playing, that's pretty tough. And then fourth round against Sabalenka, that's just to get to the quarters. So I think yeah, the draw gods haven't done Muchova any favors.
Yeah, Ghibli, we're not at that stage yet. Like they're not likely to
Yeah,
play two matches in a day yet. It's like highly likely that someone will play Wednesday first round, Thursday second round, and Friday third round if there's any more rain coming. I think right now they even won't have to do that, but we're definitely far away from two matches in a day so far. So
yeah,
it's not that bad. It's just a
still not.
question of like how much they can actually do tomorrow, because I think 87 of them, I don't think it will work out. And yeah, I understand that like the customary time is to start at 11, but maybe in this case, if you have 87 matches, like
Yeah,
some of these schedules just look really ambitious to me.
yeah,
Let's even look at, I don't know, court number 3 is what I have here. So you've got
yeah.
Tiafoe. This is likely, this is, by the way, probably one of my favorite matches to tomorrow, but like
Same.
this
Yeah,
is likely to go 3 hours and a half, let's say. Then you have Rune and Lofhagen, which someone also, Lofhagen, I have no clue how to read it actually. I was just doing it Lofhagen, but I have no clue. And Ghosty was talking about it as well, that the fact that they went to the tiebreaker was kind of surprising, so perhaps that also lasts like an hour and a half. And then you also have Kartal Kis, you also have Paulini Kvitova, and then Rublev Karatsev. So I don't think Rublev Karatsev will finish tomorrow. But again, it's not the end of the world because this is the second round. So basically the big deal is to finish all of the first rounds tomorrow. And hopefully they will be able to do that. The forecast looks much better. And McDonald's still stops serving breakfast at 10:30 in Poland. I don't know, maybe in the States it's changed, by the way. But yeah, Ghibli, there have been instances like this, yeah, where because they had to, they started at 10 a.m. It's very common on the ITF tour. Sometimes happens in challengers. Some challengers start at 10 a.m. ITF tour, it's very common. On the ATP WTA side, it's happened but it's usually just a resource they go to when they actually need to. And you're very right that like every single match Muchova will play in this event is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one, it's still Muchova Niemeyer. But yeah, Muchova Noskova, I think generally anytime you have Linda Noskova on like a pretty fast, rather low bouncing court, she's also going
Yeah.
to be pretty dangerous. So, and of course Muchova Alexandrova would be like the match of the round. So super excited for that too.
Yep. I guess. Oh yeah, if we were thinking about one match that started, but it's still in progress, the Muller Rinderknecht. Are you surprised to see Muller win the first set?
Also up a break, I think, right? But like it could be done very quickly because he is 2 break points down, but he is up a break in the second set technically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think hopefully if we get through at least 75 or 80 of these matches tomorrow, that would be probably fantastic. And like you said, we're not at the stage where like we're totally screwed, because looking at the forecast, like it's supposed to be sunny until the weekend. And then the weekend, once it's the third, fourth round, at least you have those 2 courts where you'll have a ton of tennis being played on with the roofs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's all about how tomorrow goes. Like just have to be
That's an interesting comment, that the obesity epidemic in the States is caused by McDonald's serving all-day breakfast in the States. I think it's, what does the breakfast have to do with it is what interests me. But
McDonald's and dinner.
I like the breakfast offer, but it's kind of more, it's a lot more expensive than the usual one, at least in Poland. Anyway, yeah, as Vansh said, we probably covered it all because, well, it was a very short day. So this episode is just like 37 minutes, I see right now. But tomorrow, there's probably going to be a lot more action. From what I know, I think it's going to be me and Vansh returning again. So, see you guys tomorrow. But if you're already getting tired of us, then don't worry. On Thursday, there's going to be Nick and Miles coming in. I think I'm also unavailable on Friday, so you're not going to see me for like a couple of days. So don't worry. You're going to have some other people to talk tennis to, as we are on Talking Tennis after all. And yeah, thank you guys as usual. Thank you, Vansh, too. And yeah, see you tomorrow. I know you aren't tired, but I just have to joke a bit. But thank you for confirming that. Who is Miles? You might know his like Tuned Into Tennis. Is that the name? Podcast. I think you can look it up probably on Twitter. Miles David is his name. It's Miles with an Y instead of I. Yeah. So see you guys.
Yep. See ya.